Rashad here. Today's video we're going to be doing a complete and full care sheet for none other than crested geckos, one of my favorite animals in the pet trade. Basically, crested geckos come from New Caledonia. They were thought to be extinct in 1990 up until 1994 when some biologists went to the island chain of New Caledonia, which is a French territory, and found a pretty hefty population of these guys. We're going to start with the diet of these crested geckos. Crested geckos eat a commercialized powdered fruit, which you mix 1 part powder to 2 parts water. It's produced by Repashy, T-Rex, and multiple other generic brands of it, but they're all pretty much the same thing. Me personally, I like to feed mine the 3.0, which is produced by Repashy, as well as dusted crickets occasionally. They can thrive and live solely on the Repashy crested gecko diet. That's why they're a highly favored reptile in the pet trade. Since we just went over the diet of the crested geckos, let's go into feeding. Now, a lot of people have different theories and different ways, and different breeders, they all feed their animals somewhat differently, but it's all pretty much the same. Me personally, what I like to do is when I offer the Repashy crested gecko diet, I leave it in there for about 2 nights. Then I remove it, because if you know Repashy, it starts to grow some type of mold. So I then remove it and leave it out for a night or 2 nights, and then I'll put it back in for another 2 nights. So I usually go 2 nights in there, 1 night out, 2 nights in again. And as far as the insects, I offer my crested geckos insects about once a week, and I always dust them. The night that I usually don't have the Repashy crested gecko diet in there is the night that I would offer the crickets. They tend to always eat them up. So let's go ahead into the next portion. Now we're going to cover housing. Crested geckos can grow up to about 12 to 11 inches. Some have reaching 13, 14 inches I've seen, including their tail. As far as housing, crested geckos are arboreal, so they like a taller standing cage so that they can have enough arboreal space as far as climbing branches and plants and bamboo, as you can see in my naturalistic terrarium. That's things that crested geckos like. They're not terrestrial, they're arboreal, meaning they live their life in the wild, in the trees and such like that. So per 1 crested gecko, I advise about 10 gallons. So this right here is the exo-terra. I really recommend these if you're going to house them. That way it makes it easier for to access the cage, as well as put in decor, and as well as just looks really presentable if you have it in a public sitting area in your home. It really looks nice, especially with arboreal creatures, because you can add the plants and all those things as far as living plants and things of that nature. Another thing you want to take into accountability when you're doing your housing for your crested gecko is what kind of top you're going to have on it. Screen tops are good, but I recommend using glass tops or plexiglass, or something that's going to hold in the humidity, because they are a tropical species. They are from the rainforest in New Caledonia, so they do like the humidity to be a bit up. So take that in consideration when you're housing your crested gecko. We're going to continue on now. On to temperature now. Crested geckos can be kept at your normal room temperature. Normal room temperature in a home is about 75 degrees, 76 degrees. It varies depending on your location and things of that nature. But that's the preferred temperature to keep these geckos at, because anything lower than that can be harmful, and anything too high, about the lower 80s, that's a little bit too high for these guys, because they begin to stress and they won't eat. And as far as behavioral issues all have to do with the type of setup and the type of care you're giving them. Most crested geckos will be extremely active at night once they've been misted down, and if their temperature is appropriate. Most crested geckos who aren't active during the nighttime, that means that there's maybe a health issue and you might want to get your crested gecko to the vet, or check your temperatures, or make sure the humidity is up in the room or inside the actual terrarium that you're housing your crested gecko in. That's really important. So I think we basically touched bases on all the things you need for a care sheet. So let's go ahead and take a look inside my Viv, and I'm going to show you how I accomplished all the needs of my crested gecko. We're going to start with the housing. The housing is basically exo-terra 18 by 18 24. Below in the substrate area, I have a drainage layer, which I have hydrogen balls in the bottom. I have terrarium screen, which I place my eco earth on so I can separate the layers. That way you don't get a mixture of water into your substrate, and then once you have stagnant water, you begin to grow mold. I top the layer of substrate with New England sphagnum moss, which helps keep the humidity higher in the terrarium, as well as I add a bunch of cover for arboreal climbing, because these guys are arboreal. So I have a lot of plants as well as living plants to help keep the humidity up. A bunch of living plants. I have lots of cork bark. Crested geckos love cork bark because they love to climb in it, they love to hide in it, they love to perch on it. All of these things they love. I have, bamboo, hollow bamboo rounds. I have cork bark rounds. I have, rocks just to give it a little bit of a naturalistic feel. And I also have a Pangea Pets deli cup holder. You guys probably can see it back there. That's what I use to put their food dishes in when I do feeding. So that's how I accomplish prime care of these animals. Now, as far as temperature, as you can see, I have no lights. I also don't have any under tank heater because my house tends to stay at about 75, 76 degrees, which is perfectly fine for these guys. So I don't have to have any added heat source. And that's about it. I do my feeding on Monday and I leave it in there until Tuesday. I remove it Wednesday morning. I do feeding again Thursday night, leave it in there until Saturday morning. Then on Sundays, I throw in crickets, and that's my feeding regimen, and that helps produce healthy and happy crested geckos. I'll do another video shortly on breeding because I wanted to make that a completely separate video for those who really want the information out there. So this is Rashad. I want to thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace out. We're going to start with the diet of these animals. Crested geckos eat a commercialized diet, which is basically a powdered fruit substance that you mix 1 parts to 2 parts water. It's produced by Rapashi and multiple other generic brands as well. They also eat insects from time to time. My son is definitely doing this on purpose. But we're gonna continue on. Man, see, it's not gonna be good. Legal. That's the niggas that do when they was crunky and legal. Rashad here. You can hear me and you can see me. Right now I'm spraying the Viv and you're looking into the Viv.